What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Thursday. Going to have a big show, day 2 of the Titans trade frenzy, as Ernest Jones also shipped off by Rand Carthon and the Titans front office after the DeAndre Hopkins move early Wednesday morning. We're here to react to more of it. Sam, it's your first time to react to it on the show after a lot of content was created yesterday on A to Z Sports covering the Tennessee Titans and the moves that were made, what they mean, what they're going to mean. Are they done? Who's next? Who could potentially be next? So we're going to hit it all here on this Thursday show. We got the Magic Bucket on a Thursday. If we have time for it, we'll do the Magic Bucket. But Sam, welcome in on this Thursday morning. Hope you had a good trade reaction day. And that thing's going to continue as the Titans get ready for the Lions on Sunday. But what's up? Welcome in. Let's get it going.
Yeah, it was a busy day yesterday and, still rolling. Like you said, these trades are not necessarily going anywhere. We're going to keep getting more action from the Titans. So, going to have a lot to talk about. Most interesting, I think I told you yesterday, this is the most interesting 1-5 football team ever. Most eventful, that's for sure. So, got a lot to get to today. I'm excited to react to this trade, give some of my thoughts because I'm a little all over the map about, some of these moves that the Titans are making right now. So going to be a fun show to talk about it. Before we jump into it, everybody share the show. If you're watching on YouTube, take that YouTube link, send it to a Titans fan, a football fan in your life. Let them know A to Z Sports is live. We're talking Titans. We're talking trade frenzy and maybe what's on the horizon for the Titans trade front, in the near future. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button in the bottom right corner. Just spread the word, get it out there, get people involved in the show, and leave a like on the show before we kick it off on a Thursday morning.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, one of our Titans reporters for A to Z Sports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports.network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. You can do that by joining our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ, and TDOT. Be part of the solution to end littering across Tennessee by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. So, Sam, a lot of stuff happening. Easton and I had a full-out post-game reaction show of the DeAndre Hopkins trade yesterday. We'll get to the details of that trade, but that was not the only move that was made by Rand Carthon, and Ernest Jones was moved, who he was just acquired by the Titans via the Rams. And so Easton Freeze doing a good job of putting the two moves together, basically. All told, the Titans' Ernest Jones experience was strong flip for Rand Carthon. The Titans gave up a 2026 fifth-round pick and received a 2025 fourth from Seattle, a 2026 sixth from the Rams, and then Jerome Baker, a starting level inside linebacker from the Seattle Seahawks. So Ernest Jones goes back out west where he came from just a few months ago. But Sam, your initial reaction as we woke up Wednesday and boom, DeAndre Hopkins is gone. Kind of take us through your experience of what Wednesday was about the locker room, the facility, and really everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the waving of the white flag day for the Titans. I feel like so far throughout 2024, we've heard a lot of general positive speak from coaches, players, everybody. I mean, as early as last week, Nick Vanette's in a press conference saying, we're a great football team with great players. It just has to piece together. And once it flips the script, we're going to go and it's going to be rocket fuel. That's kind of been the lingo of how the Titans have talked about themselves. Brian Callahan loves mentioning we're much better than our record would suggest. It's something that he says over and over and over again. And so yesterday for me was the culmination of, another thing Brian Callahan has said before, which is that it's a results-based league. It's a results-based league that your record actually is what you are at the end of the day. And with the Titans at 1-5, a guy in DeAndre Hopkins who had been pretty much a perfect fit for the Titans for the last, 16 months or however long he's been in Music City, but comes in, has a 1,000-yard season, is very good for the development of Will Levis, seems to be very involved in the Nashville community and happy and wants to build something here, has comments that says he's as happy as he's been with any other organization throughout his entire career. That was just 2 months ago, Austin. And now here we are with DeAndre Hopkins on the Kansas City Chiefs because you have failed top down throughout the entire team. And so it felt like the facility, the press conferences, the locker room, it was the type of day that has the sobering reality of the fact that the NFL is a business. The fact that, things are not going to stay sunshine and roses and your team's not going to stay all the way intact for the entirety of a season. And, you're going to lose some good players. And for the players, you're going to lose some good friends. And for, the fan base, you're going to lose some guys that you've become attached to. So it was a bit like weird and somber of like, how did we get here? I felt like was the question that most people were asking themselves yesterday.
Yeah. How did we get here so fast? Right.
Yeah.
Not even Halloween. And the Titans are making a bunch of moves, selling. Here's Arden Key talking a lot about the business of the NFL in the locker room yesterday.
Yeah, that could be anybody. That could be me. That can be, like I said, anybody. I don't look at that. I've been around. I know the business side of it, and I understand the business side of it. So me understanding the business side of it, I don't take the business personal. It's not personal. It's business. And Ernest and D-Hop, them great players, and they're going to go on and continue playing football and continue being great. Go ahead.
What's to say about short-term versus long-term view of the franchise?
What you mean? Expound on that question.
Well, those two guys are obviously, you're better with them than without them, I presume, right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure, better with them. Like I said, I don't know. I don't understand the trade, but it's not for me to understand. It's guys, it's people upstairs that make those decisions. I'm just here to play football.
See, this to me, Austin, ultimately is the vibe around the Titans right now, which, as bad as it might be to say, everybody's kind of out for an individual right now. When your team is at 1-5 and there's being very clear statements made from the front office about where they see the team going, the fact that they don't see this team recovering, the fact that they have to look for the long-term prospects of the organization, and they trade away some of your better players, you're done in 2024 as far as your aspirations to actually go be a playoff team and achieve some of those career goals. And so I think it was everybody woke up and said, well, hey, I still have a job to do. I still have to go play football. I still have to go make my money and look out for myself next year and, continue earning a job in this league. But I think the mindset sort of has officially shifted from team, what do the Titans have to do to recover and get into the playoffs, to Arden Key there is just like, well, I got to go play football still, and heck, maybe it's me next.
Yeah, and we'll talk about who's next here in a second. Jody says players will start making business decisions going forward. Ramon said, explain the Ernest Jones trades with only 6 games played. To me, I think it's Ernest Jones is a good football player who's on an expiring contract, and you were able to get a really solid draft pick for him, like a 4th-round pick and a player for Ernest Jones. Like, think about this. You got way more for Ernest Jones than you got for DeAndre Hopkins.
You got way more for Ernest Jones than you gave up for Ernest Jones. So
yeah. And so I think it's a really like the Ernest Jones trade is a massive win for the franchise. Ernest Jones, good football player. I think he would have been a great centerpiece of the defense for the next 3 to 4 years on a contract extension. But the Titans aren't really needing to invest a lot in the inside linebacker position again. They've got other things to do. And so when you have a player that has value, they can help you build in other areas. Like the Titans need draft picks. They need to acquire more draft picks. And right now they've got 2 4th-round picks because they don't have a 3rd. And Ernest Jones allowed them to do that. And I think that was a good move. I mean, I think you agree too. Like it great move is moving Ernest Jones.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the difficult part of the trade deadline in general, is being happy with the trade versus evaluating a trade as a positive move in terms of value. So I'm not happy at the Ernest Jones trade because I'm not happy that it had to happen. It is ridiculous, to Ramon's point, that this Titans team that invested so much and was the top 3 spender in the offseason goes out and trades for a 24-year-old linebacker that has superstar potential, and 5 games into him playing, or 6 games into him playing with the team, is being shipped off instead of signed to a long-term deal. The optics of that, the fact that that's our reality, are not things to celebrate by any means. And the Titans, Rand Carthon, did not get into the Ernest Jones world. He did not open this door to get return on investment. Like he did not trade for Ernest Jones with the idea that I'll flip him in 2 months.
It wasn't a chess move. It was like meant to be
it was a whoops that
Yeah.
turned out to be relatively productive. But I do think if you're looking in a vacuum at the Titans situation, you're looking at the fact that, like you said, DeAndre Hopkins and Ernest Jones are on expiring contracts, and expiring contracts to me are the big thing here. Where these guys are going to hit free agency. You'll probably lose both of them for nothing, because I don't know if either one of them really cares to be here as a free agent if they could control their own destiny. And so you get something and capitalize on both of those dudes by trading them away. I think the value on both trades was, in the ballpark of what you want. I think Jones probably a little better than Hopkins, and we can get into some of that.
Yeah.
But
well, let's definitely talk about that, because yesterday I was curious at what negotiation power the Titans had with DeAndre Hopkins because of other wide receiver injuries and a hospitalization across the NFL. And so we knew at the point of yesterday's show that it was a 5th round pick that could become a 4th round pick if certain conditions were hit. And so we know what the conditions are. So DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs, and this was Albert Breer. This was earlier in the day that they did get these worked out, I believe. Tennessee gets a 5th rounder that becomes a 4th rounder if Hopkins plays 60% of KC's remaining snaps, and the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl. Not or, but and. So 60% of the Chiefs' remaining snaps, and the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl. So that is the way it would become a 4th round draft pick. It's a pretty steep condition.
Yeah. I mean, I just precedent there, because I looked into, like the Devontae Adams trade came with a conditional pick as well. That was a 3rd round pick that could potentially get moved to a 2. And Devontae Adams had conditions as well that are also steep and improbable, but it was that he would be named an All-Pro, or the Jets would make the AFC Championship game and he would play in the game.
Yeah.
So there was an or there, not an and I think the and is really what makes this D-Hop condition feel a little bit more of a long shot.
Absolutely. So we didn't do this yesterday on the show. Sam, you did this yesterday on A2ZSports.com/Titans. You graded the trade prior to knowing the full conditions of it. So I want to go ahead and do that so we can have this conversation and then continue to move forward with who might be next for the Titans with their trade frenzy that might be continuing. But the question we want to get you guys involved with now is, how do you grade this DeAndre Hopkins trade, sending him to the Chiefs? How do you grade the D-Hop trade, sending him to the Chiefs, knowing that it's a 5th round pick, very likely, because in order for it to be a 4th rounder, D-Hop has to play at least 60% of the snaps, and the Chiefs make the Super Bowl. So we'll get to that. But first, let me tell you guys about Farm Bureau Health Plans, where you should turn for all of your health coverage needs. FBHP.com/ATOZ is the website for you to go get a quote to find out how much you can save on your health coverage and better your health coverage plan at the same time. Zach saved 20% per month when he signed up with Farm Bureau Health Plans about 3 years ago, and they've been a partner with us ever since. And it's been a great partnership because Farm Bureau Health Plans loves to invest in the state, in the different communities across the state. They're a big proponent and a investor and a fan of just the sports teams across the state, whether it's pro, college, or youth and high school. Farm Bureau Health Plans loves to give back to its community because that's what it's all about. For over 78 years, Farm Bureau Health Plans has made life better and helped improve your health coverage for Tennesseans across the entire state. So make sure if you're looking to find out how can I better my health coverage, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses. Whatever your first bet wager amount is, if your bet's no good, that money goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet for a second chance to win big. That's the best way to do sports betting, is with the sportsbook born in Vegas and BetMGM.com.
All right, so Sam, I'll send you to the chat, and we're asking grades for this because D-Hop moved. It's a 5th-round pick, could be a 4th-rounder if D-Hop plays 60% of the snaps and the Chiefs make the Super Bowl. So grades, what are you seeing here? Also, like the show. We need people to like the show. Hit that like button while you're watching here on Facebook and YouTube. Sam, what are you seeing in the chat?
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place. Willie's at a C. Ashley's at a D. I see a B from Derek, D minus, a B from Trey, C, F, F, B minus, F, B minus, B minus, B minus, a B, a C minus from Titans Kyle, C, C minus, because you traded him to an AFC contender. Corey says, C, it is what it is. You get something instead of nothing. Hello Lady says D minus. Kaz is D minus. CJ says C plus. I see another B. I see another B. I see a C plus. Jeff says you probably could have gotten more and traded him, and they traded him within the conference. Darius, Chris, and Steve are all at a B. Andre is at an A. Says all 3 parties winners here, both Hopkins, the Titans, and Kansas City, feeling good. Corey says C, B plus. Austin, really all over the map, I feel like. So I'm curious to see where you go here, because I've gotten the feeling that you are a little bit lower on this deal than I am.
Yeah, so I did put up a poll, and like on YouTube, you can only do a max of 4 options for the poll. So I tried to just like, all right, how can I just said A range, B range, C range, or D through F range to see if that's a fair enough like grouping of where it can go. I think there's a big difference in an A plus and an A minus and a B plus and a B minus, so there's some, nuance that can't be jumped in there too. So I've thought hard about this because I talked to Evan Winter, who's one of our Bucks writers, and the Bucks do not seem like they're going to add anybody after they lose Chris Godwin for the whole year, and Mike Evans is on the shelf through like week 11, like almost a month. And the Bucks are like, no, we're not interested. We believe in the guys we have.
Jalen McMillan, baby.
Everybody's like, okay. I mean, like you can like Jalen McMillan, but also think, yeah, you probably could use DeAndre Hopkins, too, and which was wild. Deebo Samuel goes to the hospital, and he's out of the hospital now. And then Brandon Ayuk is also out for the season with a torn ACL. And the Niners, my thought yesterday is, could Rand Carthon, and the reporting as we put things together, as of Monday night, there was nothing really. I'm sorry, Tuesday night, there was no movement or interest or any conversations about trading DeAndre Hopkins. That changed around midnight when the Chiefs reportedly reached out to the Titans about this. Rand Carthon, I think, has to call his buddies in San Francisco and said, hey, how can you help me? You hate the Chiefs too. We all like the Chiefs, right? How can you help me get more from Kansas City? Because you are a great bait partner to make the Chiefs a little bit jealous, to give up a little bit more. And so I think that is where I wish the Titans could have gotten more. Like a 5th that could be a 4th, fine. Where I sour on this is the conditions are ridiculous. The conditions are way too steep.
The conditions are always steep in a deal, though.
Well, it's it's 60% of the snaps, and the Chiefs make the Super Bowl. Like if the Super Bowl,
not all that steep for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Super Bowl, the only and that should be with a Super Bowl condition is DeAndre Hopkins is on the roster and they're in the Super Bowl. Like I get it, like. You can't say the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. What if D-Hop is on injured reserve by then because of what, I get that. That doesn't make sense. But if D-Hop is active and they're in the Super Bowl, I don't care percentage of snaps. They're in the damn Super Bowl. I think that should be the only and for a Super Bowl condition, because that's insane to say. I think I give it still a B minus. And it would have been a B, but I'm going to drop him a half letter grade to a B minus because the condition for a 4th round pick I thought was not very good use of negotiation.
Yeah. So, man, there's a lot to unpack there. I disagree
Yeah.
with you on the
Okay.
on the idea that Rand should have used his buddies or whatever it is.
Why?
Because the problem is that's like a good idea in theory and not practical at all, because if the 49ers aren't actually making an offer and are not actually seriously interested, you don't really have any leverage. You don't have to make that phone call to call the Chiefs back and be like, hey, I got the 49ers interested. Like, that doesn't have to be true. You can bluff that anyways. But if the Chiefs have an
Rand could
idea
literally pick up the phone, but hey, John Lynch. Hey, John, I'm going to say that you are halfway interested in D-Hop. I'm talking to the Chiefs. And he'll be like, okay, sounds good. Thanks, Rand. And then, like, you don't have to act, it's just hey, I'm going to use you to get more out of the Chiefs. You good with that? I think every other NFL team say yes, because nobody wants the Chiefs to win more. I guess that's where I feel like, and maybe he did use, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what happened behind the scenes with this? I mean, I do think that it's pretty clear that nobody was willing to pay more. The fact that some of these teams are not looking to add wide receivers is a little bit surprising, but that's kind of where the market is at. And that's ultimately what drives this grade for me, is looking at the precedent that's set by the other 2 for wide receivers that have been traded so far. Davante Adams is moved for a 3rd round pick, conditional 3rd round pick that can become a 2nd round pick. You get Amari Cooper traded to the Bills. It was Amari Cooper and a 6 for a 7 and a 3. So the Browns gave up a little bit in the back half of the draft, going from a 6th rounder to a 7th rounder in order to kind of upgrade their pick on the front end and grab that 3rd rounder for Amari Cooper. I think both of those guys are better players than D-Hop. I think D-Hop's production this year is pretty replaceable. And as much as I think D-Hop is capable of being a very good wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, he hadn't been one for the Titans this season. And it's just hard to sell a team on a 32-year-old wide receiver that has 15 catches in 6 games and had 3 catches with 1 catch. There are 3 games with just 1 catch. So I think the production being down was a concern. I don't think that Titans fans should have expected to get something similar to what the Bills got for Amari Cooper, or the Bills gave up for Amari Cooper, or what the Raiders got for Davante Adams. This feels like a step down. It sucks because the Chiefs are at the back of whatever round that they're going to be in. So you're picking in like the back of the 5th round.
The 5th round pick for the Chiefs this past year as Super Bowl champs was 159.
Yeah. I mean, I checked
deep.
out. Yeah, that is pretty deep. I mean, look, the thing for me is that I feel like these conditions could hit. Like, I don't think these conditions are that outlandish. And when you look at Davante Adams' conditions that I just talked about, Davante Adams has to be a pro, an all-pro.
All-pro. Yeah, ain't happening.
Or the Jets have to make the AFC Championship game.
And that ain't happening
And
either.
they're 2-4, 2-5.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's
far-fetched. I think
though.
it is far more likely that Diop plays 60% of snaps on the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl than the Jets make the AFC Championship game or Davante Adams is an all-pro.
But that's for a 4th rounder. Like, the Raiders are going to get a 2nd if that stuff happens.
Right.
And that ain't happening.
But so what's the
difference in Davante Adams and D-Hop? Like, I get, like, do you know how?
I think very significant.
Okay. Do you know the age gap between DeAndre Hopkins? 2 years. Are you sure?
I mean, well, Davante Adams is 30, maybe just turned 31, and then D-Hop is.
Davante Adams is going to be 32 on Christmas Eve.
Oh, okay.
There is a 6-month age difference.
I think they look very different.
Well, I mean, I don't know. But in this year, Davante Adams was healthy going into the year, right? And so, like, There is a difference there.
But
Devontae Adams.
the knee matters, though. I mean, the knee, like a 32-year-old wide receiver with a knee injury that hasn't played his best football this year. Do I think it's D-Hop's fault? No. But I also think if you're a team.
But they had very similar seasons last year. Like Adams had more yards, and I think they had the exact name of maybe the same 7-8 touchdowns each. But they were both over 1,000 yards. Adams had maybe 100 yards more. They both played for teams that had bad quarterback play last year. And I think you can look at what happened this year, and Adams shut it down a lot earlier. He had 100-yard game against the Ravens in week 2 and scored a touchdown in that game. And that was a win by the Raiders. After that, he played one more game for the Raiders, 4 catches, 40 yards, and he was out. And then his hamstring was hurt. And so I think the MCL is a factor in this, but I don't think DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams are 2 rounds of a draft pick difference, especially when you're talking about where the Jets are going to be picking and where the Chiefs are going to be picking. That's like 2.5 rounds of difference. That's what I think. And here's the other thing too. The Titans are paying DeAndre Hopkins to do this. Because the Chiefs don't have cap space. The Titans are eating an extra couple million, $2.5 million to do this too. So
that makes sense, though.
But it does. But if the Titans are going to pay the majority of D-Hop's salary moving forward, and then the condition for a 4th rounder should be a lot lighter, in my opinion.
I'm
still giving it a B-. I still think it's a trade that need to be
that's
made.
where I'm at a B with it. So we're really not all that different. I haven't. And that is ultimately what I would say to Titans fans at the end of the day is I think we overrate talent in the league. And for whatever reason, the NFL market, it tends to be a buyer's market all the time. A 5th round pick can net you a very good player. I did not expect the Titans to get more than a 5 for Hopkins. That was the value that I kind of expected. So the fact that you got a conditional 4th, or a conditional 5th that can become a 4th was a bit of a surprise to me. Now it stinks that it's at the back of the draft, but you can only deal with teams that are wanting to buyers. So
unless
they're going to be
selling
teams that
guys
are
to the Jets.
Yeah. So I mean, you're and the Jets are not traditional buyers. That's them going out and getting Aaron Rodgers, one specific guy that he wants. So it's a little bit different. And I do not care that they traded to the Chiefs. You're 1-5. You let the Chiefs be the Chiefs and win another Super Bowl for all I care.
Yeah, and I think somebody said yesterday in the comments, I don't know if we read it or not, but the Titans are not competing against the Chiefs in the next couple of years. The reality is that they're not. And so where's DeAndre Hopkins? If the Titans are going to compete, that next year of true competition is probably 2026, right? And where is DeAndre Hopkins at that point?
And here's another factor too that I want, because everyone's saying comparing players. Well, Devontae Adams has contract control. Devontae Adams has 2 more years after 2024,
which makes it even worse. But
it's not a ton of guaranteed money, and it's able to be reworked. So there's really no contract guarantees for Adams after 2024. So the Jets do have an out if they want it. I see somebody in the chat is saying
thing that makes the D-Hop deal even more easy for the Chiefs. The Chiefs got out so easy. Jameson brought this up.
No, but see, because that's the thing is, if you're the Chiefs, you are buying a clear rental in DeAndre Hopkins for this run to try and get into the playoffs and win another Super Bowl. If you are the Raiders shopping Devontae Adams, you can shop Devontae Adams as a long-term asset to the right team, especially because somebody in the chat, I would have to fact check it, but somebody's saying Devontae Adams already agreed to sort of rework his contract. And with the little guarantees that he has, it does make that contract fluid and flexible. You can convert a big chunk of it to a signing bonus. You can, lower his cap hit next year by doing so. And so I think there is a difference between a very clear rental and a guy who's not going to be a Kansas City Chief long-term if you trade him to the Kansas City Chiefs, and Devontae Adams, who I don't think it's impossible it remains with the Jets beyond.
Okay, as you were saying. So you're saying
there's more value there, right?
Yeah,
if
so you're saying
for 2 or 3 years of Devontae Adams, there's more value than, 3 months.
That's more worth of a 3rd round pick. I get what you're saying. I'm with you on that. All right. So Let's get to the next step, because I think the Ernest Jones trade was very good. I don't think anybody can. If we're going to give that a grade, I think it's an A. Because
That blew me away. I mean,
Yeah.
that was really surprising when I found out that compensation. And again, the situation is an F. The fact that you are trading Ernest Jones is an F. But
Right.
like, if you're looking in a vacuum at exactly what the Titans got and the value that you would have expected them to get, like, I thought you were going to get a 5 or probably even like a 6 for Ernest Jones as your, again, another expiring contract. And so the fact that it was a 4 and the fact that you also got a player, we'll see what Jerome Baker is, like, I got some concerns there, but you got a player, you got another guy to take his place and play football for you. So, yeah. And a guy who has contract control.
Yes. So on the poll that I put up, you and I are both in the B range, even if it sounds like we're way further apart than that. So the poll says C range. 42% of the audience gave the D-Hop trade a C grade range. Then 33% gave a B. 17% gave a D through F range, and only 7% giving an A range.
The F was a very loud minority in the chat. I
No,
say.
the A was a minority. The F was a stronger group than I expected it to be.
Oh, I was looking at the chat and it was looking like there was a lot of people that were feeling F, but
yeah, I mean, 17% F is pretty wild. 34% now in the B range for us. All right, so let's go ahead and ask this question. Who's next? Which Titans player is the most likely next trade candidate here on this Thursday? There are definitely some options here, but first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you got to know where to turn to and who to go to. That is the Bone and Joint Institute. They've helped me out with a couple injuries over the last couple of years. They do the same thing for you. They actually have a super efficient office. Like, people just are afraid to go sit in a doctor's office waiting rooms for what seems like hours, but that's not the case at the Bone and Joint Institute. When you book an appointment, they set and keep that appointment. You don't have to sit around the waiting room for long at all. You can get in and out pretty quickly with the Bone and Joint Institute. Whenever you need them, go book an appointment online, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Whatever that first wager is, even if it loses, your money can go back into your account with a second chance to win big. So whether it's college football, the NFL, or now NHL and NBA both getting active as well, place that bet with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, Sam, who's next? Let's hear from Brian Callahan as these comments continue to roll in. This is Brian Callahan's how he opened the press conference yesterday, which I think was interesting. So Brian Callahan talking about the deals that we're not quite ready yet to talk about.
We're all aware of everything that's out there. There's not anything I can comment on specifically right now due to the nature of how these things work. But definitely aware of what's out there. And look, I would expect some movement on our roster over the next period of time here. And nothing I can comment on too specifically because, again, until anything's official, there's not much to say. So other than that, I'll let you guys kind of ask questions as far as practice goes. For injuries, we'll see on the report here when it comes out this afternoon. Haven't had a lot of time to follow up on a couple of things on the injury report, so we'll see when the report comes out tonight.
I thought keeping the haven't had a lot of time to look at the injury follow-ups. Kind of been busy. I thought that was an interesting thing from Callahan there. Yeah, he has not followed up on injuries because they've traded DeAndre Hopkins and Ernest Jones before that press conference. So who is next? Who do we expect or think to be next to be traded by the Titans? Sam, back to the chat. What are people saying?
Yeah, well, Brian Callahan says there are more moves to come, right? I will give Brian Callahan credit for this. By the way, he did a tremendous job of talking about the trades after not talking about the trades. For a guy who got up at the podium and said, I can't comment on anything, he got asked a series of somewhat specific and pointed questions about the trades. And credit to my Titans media colleagues, because there was a lot of, okay, Brian, you can't talk about DeAndre Hopkins getting traded, right? Because it's not official. But hypothetically, would a DeAndre Hopkins trade hurt the development of Will Levis? Hypothetically. And Brian was like, well, in theory, if we lost Hopkins and like
if you have a second-year quarterback, and let's say you trade away a future Hall of Fame wide receiver, how would that? Yeah.
No, a lot of people were doing a good job of framing some of their questions, and I thought Callahan like the way that he answered them was very funny to me, because he actually did. He gave us our little bit of content that we were looking for here. But who's next? Because he says, moves are going to be made. There's going to be more roster turnover here over the next few days and weeks. Darren thinks it's going to be Quandre Diggs. Justin says Treylon Burks. I see Landry, Arden Key, a couple more Harold Landry from Ashley and Andrew and David and Bobby. Ethan says Landry. Darren says Landry. I see an Arden Key or Diggs. Cheeto Awuzie, who people forget is on this roster because he is hurt.
Major reserve with Treylon Burks not getting traded.
Arden Key or Landry, another Landry, Key or Landry, Quandre Diggs. Chig should be next from Daniel because of the depth at tight end. That's an interesting one. Nicholas Petit-Frere for a pack of stickers. Get some stamps, maybe. Yeah, get yourself ready to mail stuff with NPF.
You can probably put NPF soft bats in that envelope and ship them away too.
Your words. All right.
Yeah, my words. I have not shied away from my words about the
Willie thinks it's Harold Landry. I keep seeing some Nick Folk as well. Jake says Nick Folk. Burning Devil says Nick Folk. Landry Key. Treylon Burks. So, Austin, it's not going to be Treylon Burks. He's on injured reserve. So that keeps him as a Tennessee Titan throughout the rest of this year.
Yes, because he's on injured reserve beyond the trade deadline. So he's at least not going to be traded. He could be cut later. I don't know.
Yeah, I get right.
I doubt that to be happening. So, Sam, I did put up a poll, and I gave 4 options to be the next guy to be traded. And I put one guy on there as a test to see who listened and who paid attention yesterday. I put Jeffrey Simmons as one of the 4 options on the poll. I just wanted to say this was a test for you guys. 10% of you guys on YouTube did not pay attention because A to Z Sports reported that Jeffrey Simmons is not going to be traded. The Titans do not intend to trade Jeffrey Simmons. And so 10% of you did not listen. And so that was my little own personal experiment.
Also, Chad is saying that our Buck Rising has said that you can trade players on injured reserve, which may be so. I don't know either way.
I don't know why anybody would want
either way. I don't think Treylon Burks gets traded because 1, he's not very good and hasn't been very good. And 2, why would you trade for a guy who's on injured reserve if you're looking for help to help you win games and give you a little bit of a boost? So,
yeah,
I don't think there's a market for Treylon Burks right now. And if there is a market for Treylon Burks, it's not one that's worth the Titans' while, right? It's going to be a Malik Willis situation where you get a future 7th for Treylon Burks. And, like, what are you doing at that point?
I think that would be worth the Titans' while. That's a different conversation.
Right.
Andre says the Titans didn't intend to trade anybody, LOL. I disagree because I can say that the Titans were open to trading away DeAndre Hopkins, but they needed to have a partner in that. And I said yesterday to start the show that I think the Titans were not going to until DeAndre Hopkins decided that he wanted to, but they were open to it when that happened. So they are not open to trading Jeffrey Simmons. Now, as Buck said yesterday, everybody does have a price. If somebody comes and offers a 1st-round pick for Jeffrey Simmons, you're probably going to do it.
Yeah.
But the likeliness of that happening is very, very low. So I don't think it's going to happen. So the 4 players I put on the poll, Sam, of Titans most likely to be traded next: Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, Quandre Diggs, and Nick Folk is what I put on there. Can only have 4 options. I think Nick Folk is an interesting situation He's not my answer, but I did want to spend some time on that. What do
Yeah.
you think about Nick Folk as a traded away potential player?
I hadn't considered it, but I think it makes a ton of sense. I mean, every year there are teams that are contending teams that have a big old question mark at kicker. Um, the Packers are one right now, looking real good, like a playoff team. They've cut old friend Braden Narvison. They brought in Brandon McManus. I think there's a lot of like what's going on in Green Bay with the kicking situation. Can they find?
McManus did hit a game winner though.
He did. I mean, it started great for Brandon McManus.
Right.
So maybe if it keeps going well through 3-4 weeks, right, the Packers aren't in the market for a kicker. But I do think, if you're one of these teams that has a question mark, at that position and you're hoping to make a playoff run, I mean, Nick Folk is a, 40-year-old, 41-year-old veteran that is on an expiring contract that has been absolutely nails for the Titans since joining them last season. So I think he's attractive to any contending team. And as much as you love him, if you're Tennessee, if you can get some draft capital for a kicker,
Why
why
not?
not?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Because Nick Folk is also an expiring contract.
Yeah. Signed a 1-year deal in the offseason.
And he's 40, if not, 39. So you're likely to have a different kicker next year either way. So I think that's why you might do it.
I think the Titans very clearly, their front office to me, which this will get into my answer a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
But the Titans to me have a very clear idea, I think, of they're willing to trade anything, but I don't think they want to cut out anybody that they have future investments in. Somebody who they believe can be here next year, regardless of how bad it might look, regardless of reality. I do not believe that Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan intend to be bad next year. I think they intend, with their cap space again and with like sort of this core and foundation that they're trying to establish, to try and compete again in 2025. I think Amy Adams-Strunk is attempting to compete again in 2025. So I don't know if this team is in the business right now of shipping off Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry, guys that you can keep under contract. And I don't know if I see them doing like that full fire sale route, especially because they're not really in cap hell. Like they have cap space. They don't desperately need that $17 million that you could get from cutting Harold Landry in the offseason. So I think it's anybody who does not have long-term value, somebody who is viewed as a rental asset for the Titans right now. That's a rental asset for another team in the league. Nick Folk is one of those. I think Arden Key is one of those because his base salary jumps up to $6.5 million next year, and it's not guaranteed. Mm-hmm. So the chance of Arden Key being cut in the offseason is pretty high. And if there's somebody out there that wants Arden Key, I think they would deal him. But the one that feels like the most of a lock to me is Quandre Diggs, because Quandre Diggs is that veteran that is a starter for this team, that is playing good football right now, that can help somebody who is also on an expiring contract for veteran minimum. And, I think has proved himself on a prove-it deal. He had to go get this prove-it deal, and I think he has played good football and shown that he still has what it takes to be a starting safety in the NFL. And now that he has proved himself, there would be more of a market for him, and he's not somebody that makes a ton of sense for the Titans to keep around. Like, throw Mike Brown in at safety for like all anybody cares, really, and get some capital for Quandre Diggs. That's what I think makes the most sense.
I do think Quandre Diggs is a good option. I think the Titans are done this week, right? And I think that's where my answer comes into play. It's Thursday. Everybody around the league has full focus on their opponent, right? Like trades are likely to happen Tuesday into early.
I do agree. I don't think we'll see a Saturday night trade.
Yeah, no, that ain't happening. So this week is cashed. So I think I do think Quandre Diggs is a great option, and I think he is very likely to be not here before the trade deadline ends. I think this is a flat out audition for Harold Landry in Detroit. And a lot of people have talked about this. I've talked about this last week. I called Harold Landry the Titans' most tradable asset last week because I think he is a better player right now. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a great player, right? But DeAndre Hopkins has not been productive. Harold has been productive.
Yeah.
And you've got a Super Bowl contender that has a position where they need at a position that to go win the Super Bowl, which is the Chiefs at wide receiver and the Lions at edge rusher because of injuries there. And Harold Landry, I think, has more value. He is more like a Devontae Adams situation than the DeAndre Hopkins situation because the Lions could watch Harold Landry in person on Sunday and say, hey, keep him here. Like, don't let him take the plane back. But they get to potentially trade for Harold Landry for him to be a 11-game, 10-game plus the playoffs player for them, pay him around $1 million a game. He has no future guarantees on his contract, but they do have the ability to keep a really good player for $17.5 million per year for 2 more years. And $17.5 million per year for an edge rusher who's really good in 25 and 26 is not that bad.
Yeah.
And
so for the chat real quick, that's asking Landry's cap hit for this year and for the next 2 years for the Titans will be just over 24 million. But 2.75 million of that 24 million is because of a contract restructure that the Titans did previously. And then an additional 3.8 million of that is part of his signing bonus that he got back in 2022 when he signed the deal. So that is money that has already been paid to Harold Landry by the Tennessee Titans that this team is on the hook for regardless. That's your dead money figure on his contract right now before this year, 36 million, but heading into next year, there's 13 million of dead money still on Landry's deal. That's on the Titans. They're on the hook for that.
Yeah.
The base 17.5 is not guaranteed moving forward. And so, if you're the Titans, you can have him on your roster for $24 million as his cap hit next year. You can pay him that additional 17 million. And if you're a team acquiring Harold Landry, that $17.5 million is all you would owe him. And like you said, that's a good price for a real good edge rusher.
Yeah. And I think Harold Landry is a very tradable asset. And because of the contract, how it works, I think the Titans are likely to get a day 2 draft pick for Harold Landry from the Lions, who are going for a Super Bowl, than, kind of like what we talked about with DeAndre Hopkins. So look, Jesse brings this up. He says, Chat Sports on YouTube is saying Washington could go after Landry. And maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Hey.
But I would say Chat Sports.
I mean, that's good for the Titans at the end of the day. If you have multiple teams interested, I mean, in Washington is a good call because Montez Sweat got traded by Washington last year. And then, with the help of Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn, their offense is explosive and their defense looks a lot better. And I think the Commanders are looking up and being like, oh, we're actually in contention right now. And it'd be nice to have some pass rush. So maybe a little bit of seller's remorse on the whole Montez Sweat situation, but, never too late for them to go add somebody. And Harold Landry's, he's out there. He's out there for anybody.
I also just want to say Chat Sports is also a rumor farm business model. It's not just like, be careful.
There you go. I have no idea who that was.
I'm not saying that the Washington Commanders could not trade for Landry. I'm just saying don't take Chat Sports word for it, because they come up with insane trade proposals that have zero chance of happening all the time. So I think Harold Landry.
You should have led with that, by the way.
Led with the Chat Sports thing?
Yeah, when you clicked on that comment to talk, I thought you were tossing to me to be like, Sam, thoughts on Washington?
No.
So then I got into it, and then here we are. Austin's like, you could have just been like, Chat Sports, bad call, moving on. And
they are a rumor farm. That is what their business model is, and they're probably making money for it. So whatever. But we are not Chat Sports, and they are not us, and that's it. So look, I think Harold Landry has a really because Mike Payton, our guy who covers the Lions for us, is very much hoping that the Lions are in the edge rusher market, because everybody believes the Lions are one of the best teams in football.
Yeah.
And I think Thursday Night Football tonight, you've got the Vikings going up against the Rams. I think the Rams +3 is a really good bet because the Vikings just played the Lions, and look at what happens.
Baby.
Look at what happens after teams play the Lions and the Vikings are on a short week. The Rams are not a good team. The Vikings are, but Rams +3 is a good look. So like the Lions are a Super Bowl threat. Why wouldn't they go get somebody to replace their best defensive player?
I think it makes a ton of sense. This video, this is not working at all for me. I wanted to find this because you were talking about the Lions, and I saw Dan Campbell in a press conference the other day. He was wearing the coolest shirt I've ever seen in my life. It was like, let's see if I can find it still. It was so Dan Campbell. I'm gonna find this. Hang on.
Okay.
I'm gonna find this. It was like just a shirt that he wore in his press conference that said like anti-non-physical or like it was like anti-lazy or something like that. Or anti-soft. What is something Dan Campbell like that? Because the Lions do pride themselves on beating the absolute crap out of you and making you feel it. And so
you're saying it was the opposite T-shirt of Eli Drinkowitz at Missouri wearing a bowl-bound shirt after he got the 6 wins in October.
Yeah. It was I can't believe I can't find this right now. This is very, very heartbreaking stuff.
I'm
right?
just
Oh,
letting
wait. Here it is. What is
letting
it?
you get through it.
Anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile is what's on Dan Campbell's shirt that he wears around the facility.
Yeah, fair. Jody says, "Great TV, guys." Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I got very set on needing to find the Dan Campbell shirt. That had me rattled.
All right, so look, I think there's a lot of interesting things with this Titan situation.
So real quick,
Yeah.
what does Harold Landry get for you?
Okay, I will go through that in a second because I'm glad you brought that up. So, what does Harold Landry get? And maybe ask you guys, what would you be willing to give up for Harold Landry?
No, what would you be willing to give up Harold Landry for? That's what I want to know. Like, what would the Titans have to get for Harold Landry for you to be like excited about? Not excited about it, but okay.
But that's worth doing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not excited about having to trade Ernest Jones or DeAndre Hopkins, but you had to do it, and they were the smart move to make. All right, I'll get to what I think would be a smart trade for Harold Landry to give up Harold Landry. Real quick, T-Dot, that's a smart move for you to help be part of the solution to end littering across our state. Over 88 million pieces of litter in Tennessee, and we can all help by being part of the solution to end littering across the state by joining T-Dot's campaign, Nobody Trashes Tennessee. Visit nobodytrashestennessee.com to find out the local cleanups near you where you can show up and sign up. Right there with you, your family, maybe your kids need some volunteer experience to help clean up the state. It's a great way to do that. Safe, easy volunteer experience with nobodytrashestennessee.com. T-Dot has invested $23 million a year on average to help make our state cleaner, to keep Tennessee beautiful, and you can help us out too. nobodytrashestennessee.com.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code on BetMGM, ATOZ Sports, for the sportsbook born in Vegas and for up to $1,500 in bonus bets. If your first bet misses, whatever that first bet wager amount is, it can go back into your account. So NFL, NBA, college basketball, soon college football, hockey, whatever it is, you name it, use it on BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, so what would you be willing to give up Harold Landry for?
Yeah, John says second round pick. I'm seeing Landry's worth a 5 from or a 4th from Darren. Third round pick is realistic. 2025 third, conditional to a second. Definitely not a 4th, a second or third pick. A 2, nothing less than a 3. Demario says a second, nothing lower than a third, but a third might be more realistic. Corey says a third. Antoine wants a third this year and a 4th next year. Lee says a third. So, yeah, overall, shout out to the chat here. I think chat's actually pretty based and realistic right now. I think it's a day 2 pick. I think a third for me is I can go either way. You know what? Like I'd be like, this is fine. I think if it's a 2, you do it.
If it's a 2, you do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, if it's a 2, you take it. It's probably a 3 is like the value, I would say.
And Sam, you know why you take it if it's a 3?
Tell me.
It's the only round the Titans don't currently have a pick in.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, yeah. So what would you trade Harold Landry for the
92nd pick?
92nd pick in the draft, right? If that's where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a top 100 selection, gives you your third top 100. And then you've got multiple fourth rounders as well. So you really start building up capital at that point to potentially, make something good happen.
Yeah, I mean, Trey says conditional third that could become a second.
I can see that.
I'm like, okay, yeah, put the Diop conditions on that. That makes sense because the second round pick, Lions in the Super Bowl with Harold Landry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's right. Like if he gets 6 sacks the rest of the way, it becomes a set. Whatever it is. Like put it. I could see it being a third with conditions for sure, similar to the Devontae Adams thing.
I think I think you take a third, and if you want to throw some things on there for it to become a second, why not? Right? You're not losing the third if it doesn't happen. I think if the Detroit Lions say, yeah, we'll give you our third round pick, you absolutely do that if you're the Titans. Because look, Harold has been phenomenal for this team and this organization the entire time, right? He is second on the sack list of edge rushers, third overall once you throw in Jarrell Casey. And he's about 6 sacks away from beating Jarrell. And that stings to give away a guy that he is the longest tenured Titan, and to trade him away, it's a really weird break from a lot of the past that a lot of these fans have kind of followed, but it's the right football move.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say too, not to be like a hater or anything, but like for a guy who has a lot of sack numbers, I don't feel like Harold Landry is a super dominant, consistent edge. I feel like his sacks can come in bunches. His sacks can be sometimes poorly timed sacks or like not super productive. It's like the quarterback scrambles and slides forward for a loss of 2, and Harold touches him down, and there's a sack. Not to be a heel or whatever, but like I don't know if Harold Landry is your dominant edge rusher that maybe the sack numbers would lead you to believe he is. So like, it's genuinely shocking to people that he had double-digit sacks last year.
I thought he played great last year after the first month or so. Now, here's something, too. The practical place throws a big practical problem in our situation, is that the Lions do not have a third-round pick this year.
Okay, yep, there you go. Well, that sucks for the Lions, so.
Right? So, knowing that, how does it change it? Because third round, late third round is the correct price for Harold Landry. So now what? If the Lions are
is there a world that you're giving up Harold and a 5 to get a 2? Where you take a little bit off the back to get a little bit,
maybe
Harold and a 4, one of your 2 4s that you've got, and
Harold and that 159 from the Chiefs that you just
Chiefs
got from
pick,
Diop.
Harold and that Chiefs pick for a 2. I mean,
so basically you're giving away DeAndre Hopkins and Harold Landry for the Lions' second round pick.
It'd be tough, but
that would be like between 60 and 64.
Yeah. And then they can take a guard.
But here's the thing. Can you trade away a draft pick? What happens if the Chiefs pick becomes a 4th? Then I guess you trade your own 5th.
Yeah. Or that's the risk. Do you think those conditions are going to hit?
You cannot trade DeAndre Hopkins and Harold Landry for the 62nd overall pick.
You could.
No, you cannot make that move.
you could. I mean, you might need that pick to draft your 4th tight end.
Oh God, no! Like but hey, in this situation, the Titans have pick number 4, 37, and 62.
Yeah, that's the tight end spot right there. That's Ran Carthon's music.
What do you mean Ran Carthon's music?
I feel like he likes taking
a tight end on day 2.
No, I just feel like he likes taking running backs and guards and tight ends and non-high equity positions where you're just kind of All right. I mean, we got a left tackle, thankfully, in the first round of the last one, but it's like we don't. I mean, the reason a whole
Like a
different
nose
conversation.
tackle? Like you don't like the nose tackle in the second round?
I do like the nose tackle in the second round. I would love it if, like, at one point in like the last decade, this team would draft an edge rusher in the first round outside of Harold Landry.
No, he wasn't a first round pick. He was a second round pick.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like,
So
have
then,
I
like,
told you
right,
this?
like,
Pat?
why is like one of the number one, the more valued positions in the sport, or not the positions that the team prefers to draft?
No, have we been? I know I've had this conversation with Buck. Have I talked to you about the edge rusher draft history for this franchise?
Yeah, probably.
The last
probably
first round pick for an edge rusher, Derek Morgan in 2010.
So yeah, they go decade, no edge rusher.
Guy before that was Javon Curse in 1999. This is two in 25 years. 2 edge rushers in the first round.
That's bad. That's my point.
Yeah, and they're not going to draft the edge rusher. If they draft an edge rusher in the first round of 2025
James Pierce,
draft,
baby.
I'm going to flip my lid.
James Pierce.
James Pierce.
Why would you flip your lid? They need an edge rusher badly.
They need a quarterback, Sam.
Also true.
They do not need it. If they draft an edge rusher in the first round of the 2025 draft, I'm going to be so upset.
I don't know what the quarterback situation. You don't draft a quarterback just to take a quarterback if the good ones aren't there.
Why not? Why not?
Well, because then you're just wasting everybody's time. Like, we draft a bad quarterback. That's like, you're like Arthur Blank right now. Why not? Penix at 11, 10, wherever he went.
8.
Even worse.
You're almost there. You were a 9 and then an 8 away.
I mean, that's the vibes you're giving off right now. You agree. Hopefully there's a great, right? If you need a quarterback and you're in a spot and the quarterbacks come around, hopefully you're in a spot to go get one of those quarterbacks. That is my hope for this team. That is the most important thing for this team. But I'm not jumping at the bit to take Carson Beck in the first round if I can.
Oh, hell no. I'm not taking Carson Beck in the first round either.
Hey, you want a quarterback? Why not?
And look, Easy Lion says at this point, just draft a QB every year until 2027. I mean, no, but maybe.
I mean, they need one for the stadium. That's the goal. That's, I think, all Amy cares about is
you draft a quarterback until you have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Titans have a quarterback. And
well, hey,
Austin, which quarterbacks do you like in the draft? Dude, it is October 24th.
I don't know. Yeah.
It is October 24th. No, I'm not doing that.
Luke Altmaier, ILL.
Oh, gosh.
Hey, 15 touchdowns, 1 pick, and he's duck hunting this weekend.
Does that mean they're playing Oregon?
Yeah, 21.5-point dogs in Eugene, but don't sleep on the Illini. The Illini is the hungry dog runs faster, and the Illini.
How many times has number 1 team in the country lost this season?
A lot. Yeah, make it 4. Rotate that in. Dylan Gabriel. There's a new Heisman favorite in town.
Luke Altmaier.
His name is Luke Altmaier. Yeah.
Okay.
Starkville, Mississippi's very own.
Oh, how do you go from Starkville to Champaign, Illinois?
He was at Ole Miss, and then he transferred to a.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Magic. Oh, wait, do we have some super chats? We do. Super chats. King VC, lock in like the show. Yes, absolutely. Like
hell yeah.
Kane says, while the most exciting thing about the season is who the Titans are getting rid of, absolutely sad. Fans are checking out and looking forward to the draft. Yep. Correct statement.
Look, all right, I'm going to go to a very twisted place real quick because I had this thought, and this is my dumb sports fan brain, Austin, but my dumb sports fan brain is very excited about the rest of the Titans games when it's a bunch of nobodies. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. That's disrespectful to them. It's a bunch of guys that we didn't think, like, I want there to be a game that Trevor Siemian plays quarterback, hands the ball to Julius Chestnut, and is throwing to Bryce Oliver and Mason Kinsey. That would be, it would just be awesome.
Those guys have nothing to lose, right?
There is a level of that, like, of once this team is bad and we know the team is bad, I'm kind of like, hey, good for y'all, man. Like, you guys have been grinding on the practice squad. You guys have been, like, Julius Chestnut out of Sacred Heart, like, coming in and getting
You're
some
seeing the
opportunities.
American dream come true for Bryce Oliver and Julius Chestnut. Trevor Simmons been around for a decade, but
No, right. Like, I
yeah,
actually
but
don't care who the quarterback is throwing them the ball. But, it's like
you want to see Julius Chestnut go
give me
bust his
Andrew
ass for
Rupsich in at
fame.
guard. Give me Andrew Rupsich in at guard out of Culver Stockton. Give me Julius Chestnut running the ball out of Sacred Heart. Mason Kinsey catching a pass out of Berry College. And like when you see that kind of happening, there is a level of it that is like, hey, that's cool, man. That gets me fired up. Like adding some NFL stats, boys. Like, let's ride. So that's dumb sports fan brain, but there is we will hit a point that I get fired up about that. It's the Bishop Sankey stuff that somebody.
Bishop Sankey was the first running back drafted out of Washington in his draft class. That is not the Bishop Sankey stuff. Bishop Sankey, that flopped bad.
He says, yeah, it reminds him of Mettenberger to the Mettenberger to Sankey days.
No, opposite. I mean, Mettenberger was an LSU quarterback. Sankey was a Pac-12 quarterback who was the first guy drafted out of his position group. Just 6th-round pick from Mettenberger. Who cares? I think we have one more super chat. Get to it. Amnesia. The Lions do have a young quarterback sitting on the bench.
In the show.
I mean, they do have. Yes, they do have a young quarterback, but like quarterbacks don't get traded mid-season. Sam, any thoughts?
No. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk Hendon Hooker anymore. I thought we were done.
Shout out to Wilson County Hyundai, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Make sure you check them out. Make them part of your new car buying process online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. You just
y'all piss me off sometimes. So we can't go one show without getting Hendon Hooker. Bring him in.
We go so many shows witut Hendon Hooker being mentioned.
I've been seeing it. Like we did so well for like a period of time, and then now we're never gonna beat the Hendon Hooker allegations. So,
all right, this is for you. God, the Magic Bucket's really getting mad at. I'm really getting mad at it,
dude. We gotta replace stuff.
I know, Easton. I know you're listening. Where your slips at? Where your Magic Bucket slips? I don't know if you've done this, Sam. Have you?
Okay.
Have you shown us how to tie a tie?
I have. Yes, actually, my primetime show graphic that I use on the bottom where it's my gone viral thing is me on the A to Z Sports Morning Show wearing dorky sunglasses with a tie around my neck.
You know what you have not done?
Okay.
You have not worn Derrick Henry eye black, have you?
I have done that.
What the hell?
Yeah. Dude, it runs deep. I've been doing
there are so many slips of paper in here. I don't know. Do you know who Dan Wolken is?
No.
Who is your least favorite college football media person?
Ugh. Like Charlie Burris.
No, you
that was a good joke, though.
It is funny.
The people,
National.
there will be people that like that. I don't really know. Maybe like it's like a love-hate relationship I have with like Gus Johnson.
What? You don't like Gus Johnson?
No, I love Gus Johnson, but I also hate Gus Johnson. I don't follow college football media enough. I just like know some of the broadcasters.
Okay. Who is your least favorite NFL national media person?
Ooh.
Just somebody who's just like annoyed, like they make stupid takes and it just like there's no like logic in their takes. They just make them just to make them.
This is tough. That's just why? What's the thing?
Because I have to replace Dan Wolken in this option because you don't care who Dan Wolken is.
I don't know. Can I get recommendations from the?
Like, do you like Nick Wright from Fox Sports 1? Do you find him annoying?
Occasionally. Yeah. Nick Wright's annoying at times. I think Nick Wright's cool at times and also kind of annoying at times. But yeah, he knows how to play the game, so he knows what he's doing.
All right.
Well, just read. Yeah.
Would you rather eat every meal with Skip Bayless for a year?
Oh, Skip. Okay.
Or spend every birthday for the rest of your life with Nick Wright?
Every meal.
Every meal with Skip Bayless for a year, or every birthday for the rest of your life with Nick Wright.
Ooh. That's actually
This is the first time I've read this. So there are magic buckets in here that I've never read before. I've never read this.
I think it would be. Oh, that's interesting. That's fun. I think I'm gonna do Skip Bayless for a year.
Yeah, every meal is Skip for a year.
I just like the idea of never being able to have a birthday celebration ever in my life because I have to spend my birthdays doing something with Nick Wright is like, oh, that kind of sucks. I mean, like Skip would undoubtedly, he would be awesome for 2 months. And it would be, I would look forward to mealtime every day. 2 months in, I'd be very over it. But I also hear Skip eats very well. He has like a private chef and he eats super healthy.
No, you're not getting to have Skip's meals. Like,
well, if I'm eating somewhere and I'm eating with Skip, then Skip is also eating.
Skip comes to Chipotle with you every day for a year.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing
that.
Yeah.
Over
my birthdays with Nick Wright. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I could get off on like the absurdity of like it just be like I'm good because that Skip is so absurd that it would be so interesting. And I would just be able to I would want to pick his brain in every which way possible. But
so Dan Wolken was the birthday that I had to replace because you don't know who Dan Wolken is. Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever had to do this. I have to explain to you guys what's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise.
Okay. I remember having this debate on the show, but I think it was because I had to explain it, and then I explained it, and we were trying to see if I was right or wrong.
I have no recollection of that. So, the difference in a turtle and the tortoise is that the tortoise is more likely to spend the majority of their life on dry land, where the turtle shares more of its life in both the water and on the dry land. That is the main difference in the turtle and the tortoise. Tortoise on dry land, turtles are a mixture of both.
I believe it. I think you're backwards, but I do think it is like a water land thing. So,
but the sea turtle is not a tortoise. That's why I chose that direction.
You're right.
Because I have no clue if that's correct or not. I just made all that up.
Yeah. I do think it's a water versus land climate sort of thing, and like something with the shells and sizes as well. I'm pretty sure like tortoises are huge. Tortoises, I also believe, have like a
more of a dome.
Yeah.
More of a higher ceilings.
Turtles we're talking like frisbee.
You're saying tortoises have vaulted ceilings and turtles don't.
Yes.
Okay.
I like turtles.
You do?
I do. Play the video. I know you have it in the. I know you have it.
My friend, the zombie, Jonathan. You're looking good. Jonathan just got an awesome face paint job. What do you think?
I like turtles.
All right. You're.
I'd like to hit some more deep shots. I mean, I feel like I.
Oh, that's just funny. All right, that's it for us on this Thursday. I almost forgot what day it was. Yeah. That's it for us on this Thursday. Appreciate it as always. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Like the show before you go. And we'll be back tomorrow on a Friday to talk more what happens with the Titans, what's next, what does this mean for Will Levis, who's going to be the quarterback against the Lions on Sunday. Buck Rising live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime. We'll catch you guys later. Appreciate it as always.